the permits and that. So,
That's really cool.
and then Buckfast, I got some Buckfast, there's a place called Singing.
Did you get a chance to have the budget?
Oh, thank God.
They're in New York, and sometimes they have
And it
specials,
shows the last report.
like 10 queens for $20 a piece.
Save
Alright, we'll call the Robeson Township Workshop for October 12th, 2023, order at 7:05. We'll do a pledge of allegiance and luminous signs for all military personnel. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Steve.
What's up?
I'm here.
Mr.
Here.
And I'm here, and Jeff Rhodes is seated this evening, so. Alright, so citizens concerned, citizens concerns? Yes, your name and address, please.
Dawn Stashik, 529 Golf Course Road. Someone in the township keeps blowing up tannerite, and we have livestock, and it's causing chaos with
I'm
them.
sorry, I didn't hear you. Someone keeps blowing.
Tannerite, like it's a tannerite. We've called the police on it, but they can't find out who it is. And the police officer told me to come here and to voice a concern.
We'd like there to be an ordinance that this is not allowed anymore.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Chief, are you aware of what's?
Yeah, we've done several calls for tannerite. Tannerite is legal in Pennsylvania, unfortunately. It's a binary explosive. There have been calls on Golf Course Road recently, White Bear Road, which is probably the same person. The officers have investigated, they can't pinpoint it. The one call, the White Bear Road call, the officers actually talked to some other neighbors, and they had like 3 different directions that people thought the sounds were coming from. But however, I can tell you this personally, I prosecuted a tannerite case for disorderly conduct once. I got it through the district justice level, and the person that I cited appealed it for a summary appeal, and I lost it on a summary appeal.
Because of why, Chief?
Because the common pleas judge didn't feel it was disorderly conduct. So,
That can be case specific.
yeah.
So, I too have livestock and I understand the
So what are they doing? What's the point of it?
So tannerite, the point of it is it explodes, okay?
So
They have to shoot it with a high velocity projectile.
So-
What the actual purpose is, I would say there is none.
entertainment.
Entertainment, same as fireworks,
So it's just to make noise.
yeah. So
Nothing is on.
if we can go back to a few months, we were working on a new ordinance, Supervisor Steve specifically. And in that ordinance, we were actually, the draft, we were actually putting the tannerite in there, if I'm not mistaken, is that correct, Mr. Steve?
That's something for you, Doc.
So yeah,
I'm
so.
not laughing. I'm sorry, Chief.
No, that's fine. So point being is, there is actually an ordinance that's in the process of being redrafted for the township that would give the police the tools in our toolbox to basically help the residents out.
You must have some idea who it is.
Well, we kind of do, but,
We have no.
so Dawn lives down the street from my farm, and it does sound like it's coming to the right of me towards her, but behind her. So,
Have you approached the neighbors to see if anybody could please?
well, I think the police have been.
Yeah, the police have talked, other reports put it on the north side of White Bear Road. And one specifically, one night it went off at, I think it was right around 8:30 in the evening. One of our officers was actually sitting at Robeson Elementary Center and heard it. And he went down the road, because after it goes off, there is a little bit of smoke, could be smoke, debris, depending, on circumstances.
From getting the tannerite.
So that happened in January after an explosion, and my horses were grazing, and the explosion literally shook the ground, and they all took off and ran into each other, and that was the result. And I took a picture this morning, almost 10 months later, and it's still not healed. So thank God I wasn't riding, because I'd probably be killed, but I mean, it just goes off at random times, and it's just, it's very dangerous to people at Livestock, I know the last time when Justin came down, he said Scott Gullo had texted him and said somebody's house must be off the foundation now.
Yeah, and I don't know if it might have been you or not, but I know somebody had called one time, it was like right around 12:30 in the day. And the officer had actually gave this person his work cell phone number to try to speed up the process due to the delay sometimes through dispatch. And it did happen again, and they hit the nail on the head, because it's not even like a specific time that we could target, direct, say, patrols to a certain area at a certain time to try to figure out who's doing this. But even if we did figure it out, okay, as Supervisor Bittler stated, case by case basis, but what tools do we have to actually enforce something? And that's something we have to look at on a case by case basis. If we had an ordinance, which I would support, okay, if we had an ordinance, it would give our officers more tools in the toolbox.
Now, did you have that in the ordinance that was being worked on?
Yes, because Harold and I did speak to that.
We worked on a couple different things that have been nuisance to the residents.
And it's not just, folks with animals that are complaining. We received complaints from other people, not even, animal related, relative to the explosions in the Tannerite. And it's throughout the township. I mean, it's in the Morgantown side, it's along Hay Creek Road, it's all over.
Well, there was something going on in Prince too for a while. It seems to have subsided.
Yeah.
Is there official thing printed, typed up, or did we just?
We have a draft done, but because we were waiting on other ordinances, we kind of put that on hold.
Yeah, I think, that would be my recommendation to the board for consideration, is, consider it an ordinance board.
Now, could you factor in fireworks in general? I know the state has their thing, but.
Well, I think we approached the noise and the nuisance part of it more than we defined it more as a nuisance than we did the explosion itself.
That way it applies to like when you have a tight residential area, say with dirt bikes, things like that. It could work for that as well, which is another issue that we see before the board.
While we're at it, can we talk about Chinese lanterns too?
Chinese lanterns?
Yes.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they don't come from our township.
Yeah, so last fall I had a neighbor,
Could you please do your name and address, please?
what's that?
Your name and address, please, since you did yours. Your name and address, please.
Oh, Leslie Kern, 695 Golf Course Road. I actually did take the one neighbor to court. I ended up with about 15 Chinese lanterns during a drought in my hayfield that landed in my horse pasture on top of a wood chip pile and all over my hay.
So we're clear, what is exactly a Chinese lantern?
So it's a metal framed paper and bamboo lantern that gets lit off and flies up and out.
Hot air balloon type thing.
Ever see
And
the
then-
pictures where it's a nice, it's like, say it's like a candle. The bottom has the candle, the heat makes it all rise.
What's the purpose
And they
of
were
it?
doing that at Maple Grove, I don't know if they're still
Right.
doing that. It's
Yes,
just
they
a
are.
festival to look cool.
And a lot of people do it in an
So-
area.
It's nothing but a nuisance to livestock because if an
And it goes
animal
wherever it goes and
were to
it
swallow that,
lands
you
where it
know,
lands.
What's that, a fire hazard too?
they're a huge fire. And in most countries, they're outlawed completely. So that's another thing I'd like to see looked at. I mean, I'm trying to think, who was the officer that just retired? Mark Phillips.
Mark Elliott.
Mark Elliott. He came that night. I mean, he was there.
Now, did that come from Maple Grove, the one that?
No, it came from my neighbor down the street.
He was just doing it. I know Maple Grove.
They were having a celebration of life party, but meanwhile caused me a hassle. So, oh, that's mine.
Oh, that is.
I'm looking at Galen.
It's one more thing that's a danger. I mean, and there was an entire development between where that was lit off and my farm that, this could have been in the tens of millions of dollars in damage had this lit something on fire. And it's stupidity of people doing it. You wanna have a celebration, blow balloons, or, blow bubbles
I have a
or
question for
something.
the board. The EAC had discussed this already. Would you like the EAC to discuss it again and see if we can come up with
If
something?
they wanna make a recommendation,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so we discussed it briefly months ago about the problem of this.
Absolutely.
So is that okay?
Sure.
Name and address, please.
Benoit Cataract is 237 Bard Road. If I remember right, somewhere in a Township News magazine, there was an article about these lanterns, that they're trying to stop them. But I don't remember where I seen it. It's in a, it was a whole, because it's going on all over the United States,
Oh,
and
yeah,
there's
it is.
issues everywhere with them.
All right, so with that, the AC has a meeting in November. I guess the other thing, if we can get something circulated with the ordinance and see what we can do.
They look cool going up into the air, but
We could call it the forest fire.
where's it land?
They're expensive
yeah.
too, it's like 75
Depending on where
bucks.
you're at, it's.
Yeah.
At Maple Grove, oh yeah,
Alright.
to do it at Maple Grove, I think
But,
it's like 75
somehow or
bucks.
other, we gotta figure out where they're coming from, because we can change the ordinance, but if we can't figure out where it's coming from, it's not gonna help us.
Well, on this instance, I knew and took them to court and,
Right.
you know, and they pled guilty, so,
Okay, all right, so, any other citizens concerned?
what's that?
Any other citizens concerned?
Well, I actually do have one more.
All right.
Since I'm here. We still haven't solved the issue of my neighbor across the street flooding my one hayfield. So it's the neighbor that has the retention pond that wasn't working, that got fixed. And so what they did was they took all of their downspouts, piped them to a pipe that sits above the pipe that goes under the ground and goes right into my hay. So I am getting 100% of their water runoff. It's not staying on their side of the street. It's illegal to do. I know Craft Code developed this, so we're heading to a lawsuit soon, is where this is going. There is no reason for me to have to take the
Have you
brunt
done anything
of
with
their
this?
water.
No, I had heard about this. What's the address of the property across the street? from
Of
you?
their property?
Yeah.
It's the house that has like 9 million garages. Do you know, Dennis? It's the one right across from my big hayfield,
Yeah, I don't know
across from the block one.
I'd have to look it up, I don't know it off the top of my head.
I mean, it's just,
Are you looking to,
Well-
since you,
We'll look into it, and this, I had heard about this previously, I have not looked into this myself.
Yeah.
But if we can get the address, I can pull the permit and tape.
But this is a little bit different though than the first one, because this one they kinda created.
yeah, so the first one, they had a problem with their retention
Right.
pond.
Uh-huh.
And the township took it upon themselves, I guess based on Gary Kraft's recommendation, to trench and put a pipe on their side of the street and run all of it uphill and into the pipe that was put there back when Widener's owned both sides of the street and piped it across. I mean, that's bad enough, but now to have their downspouts
And this
come
is,
directly,
I'm sorry, this is something they changed recently, that where it was sold.
2 years ago maybe?
well, he'll,
So it's a change they made.
This was on
So, I
board
mean-
before.
It's ridiculous that they are,
Not the downspouts at all.
you know,
No, that was the
Funneling
change
all of it.
from the stormwater running out onto the road. They changed this, I remember all this going on, and they were making the
yeah, so
engineering.
Brian will check the updates and stuff for you.
what's that?
He'll check into it here. Just since it's different.
So, I'm done.
It's not the old like farmer houses across the street, is it?
It's not the
It's the
farmhouse, and then there's 2 driveways that go up, and there was a problem with that because I remember Bob Deed saying when those driveways were put in, they were supposed to have pipes underneath it, and that didn't happen, so the water runoff comes down the street and lays there. So I guess Kraft decided they would try and pipe that uphill and into the pipe that runs under the road and dumps onto my farm.
That was infiltration pits were built between those two driveways. And the driveway was sloped in such a way that the water ran toward those infiltration pits.
But apparently that didn't happen according,
And when it was paved,
right,
the paver changed the pitch of the driveway so that the water no longer runs off
Right.
the driveway section. It was an area between the two driveways
Right.
that was excavated and stone put in for an infiltration pit.
now it just runs down on the golf course.
And yeah, it can create an icy mess right there on in the golf course road in the winter.
Sure
I've
does.
seen that too.
So now that is now going onto my farm. And I don't have to bear the brunt of everybody's stormwater runoff. That's supposed to be handled on their property, not mine. And so I've got a couple of acres of weeds and crap growing because it's bringing down whatever's coming down from uphill. So
So Brian, you can.
that's a
send
loss
us
of
your-
income for me,
you can-
The house to the left of those double driveways?
yes.
Alright.
One with like 3 or 4 garages, the big one.
All right, well, I'll check, once he gets the address, we'll check, see what's
So look, I don't care what they do on their side of the street, I don't want it dumped on my farm anymore.
No. Any other citizens' concerns? All right, if not, then we got the correspondence in our packets, the local municipality process meeting, and the county depository bid acknowledgement form.
Yeah, that should have been done months ago. And,
That's what you signed, Chris.
yeah, it's whether we have a problem with, this being sold at sale.
Yeah, I looked this up. All these people in the Greenwich Lake, it's not.
No,
Take care.
All right, chief.
no, wait, before you get there, there's a certified letter in here from, DEP. I just want to talk about that quickly. What that is about is they want to put a transfer station in between the trail and the railroad tracks in Cumberland. And, this is asking us whether we want to, attend the meeting, concerning that. Now, there's a separate meeting for the public than for the municipalities, but
Is this the landfill?
no,
That's-
yeah, this is the landfill owner that wants to do that.
Yeah, I had heard that landfill is just about at capacity, and I suspect this is what they're doing to try to.
But, I mean, for a logistics standpoint, traffic on 724 is horrendous now. It's not gonna be a lot better with all these trash trucks coming in here dumping.
Well, I can tell
And
you
the
that-
other thing is the stench. I don't know how they're gonna do odor control or anything like that, so. I think we definitely need to weigh in.
Okay.
I was at a meeting with DEP like this, when they wanted to expand the landfill a number of years ago. And we brought up many of the same points. We said, different company owned the landfill at that point in time, they also own trucks and haul trash in. And I said to them, drivers are not gonna bring trash up 422 to get to that landfill. Any truck driver that's worth his salt is gonna come up 724 because it's less lights, it's closer, and it's gonna come right through Robeson Township. Oh no, that won't happen. And DEP went ahead and granted them the license. And at one point later on, when Tom Kine was manager, I think we counted 7 trash trucks going through the intersection at Gibraltar Road and 724 within about a 10-minute span or less. And we contacted DEP and the landfill owner, threw their drivers out for a while, but I guess that any truck driver's worth his salt is gonna take the shortest, easiest route to get there. And it's gonna affect us in that respect, you're gonna have the truck driver.
This is not in the agenda, Mr. Steve, this is?
It's
Correspondence.
Yeah, but it's not listed on the agenda here?
No, it just don't say it's
It's just on
correspondence.
the agenda, it's correspondence.
It's a local municipality,
It's
municipality
You think
involvement
that's
process.
fair? Wait till that warehouse gets built.
Okay, yeah, it's on there. It's for.
Now, there's a second letter that actually spells out what exactly this is about. We just got booked.
Wait till that warehouse gets built.
Oh,
Yeah, on 720, on Route 10.
I just wanted to, bring it to everybody's attention.
all right, chief.
Good evening, board. Item A is I wanted to discuss adding a line code to the police budget part of the agenda under 410. Obviously, we'd have to come up with a number, but starting next year, we're gonna start seeing expenses from the LPR, that first grant that I wrote. The warranty part of it expires, so I have the warranty factored into the grant. Right now, I actually had it factored into the budget under the vehicle, but we should probably pull it out, that way we can track those expenses directly to the license plate reader, which is what LPR stands for. So I'm making a suggestion to the board that we consider creating a new line code on Tuesday night. Then B, to give you an update on some money received from grants. One of the things that's actually listed on my monthly report for September, we did receive an additional $840.20 from the Highway Safety Network, which that covers a portion of overtime relative to DUI enforcement. For the year, we received $1,662.04 relative to that grant. That does not show in the overtime because under 410, that's all expenditures. That goes back into the general. So even though the overtime may show such amount, X amount of dollars, technically it's 1662 better. It's something we do not budget for, so it's not factored in there. And on the topic of grants, we are going to be receiving an additional $1,336 relative to the Bulletproof Vest grant. And that's for partial reimbursement for a vest that we bought. This year, we received $2,486.42 relative to that grant backhand. So one of the things we'll go over at the next budget meeting is the uniform expenditures are over this year compared to what I budgeted. A lot of that was due to the vest, but out of that, $2,486 and change came back in. So I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention. Under other items, just some updates. The MCTs, the new MCTs have been installed in all of our vehicles. We did that in-house to save us an expense. A lot of departments went to an outside vendor. We're successful, everything's up and running. So the guys worked on it over a few days, and we were one of the first departments that got the new MCTs rolled out. So the transition wasn't smooth. We had to install a lot of drivers in our computers, so it took some time, but they're up and running. Also, the LPRs, license plate readers, that was through the Grant with the County initiative at Gibraltar Road 724. They are installed and they are running. So we're already pulling data. All the officers can now access the system, which is called Viper, and we can utilize any LPR in Berks County, Chester County, Montgomery County, and Bucks County as part of our investigations. For example, it was unsuccessful, but for an example, the other evening we had a smash and grab at our Turkey Hill on Route 10. When it was broke, some product was stolen, and obviously through the cameras we got a vehicle description, couldn't get the tag. So the first thing we did was, for a certain time frame, plug that into all the LPRs to see if the vehicle matching that description went through license plate readers. So far, it's been unsuccessful. That investigative officer is still researching it. But this is one of the ways we utilize technology as a tool to help us do a better job. Which also, when it does work, it'll also cut down man time. So, just wanted to update the board on that, and that's all I had this evening.
Did you add that to your insurance list, the MPC?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, they're all there.
On the LPR, would we list that as part of the white pole?
Yeah.
Or the separate item?
I don't know. It's probably actually something while they're still redoing that, I should probably send her an email and further explain what it is and let them determine what's best, you know? But yeah, no. And what Howard's referring to is we received, every year we receive email from the insurance carrier asking for update on equipment and things like that. So we're in the process of going through that this week, in addition to the budget, getting our policy up to date, make sure we're paying insurance for items that we actually own, and what we own.
And it's still in service?
Yeah, and it's still in service. Correct.
Anything else?
No, unless anybody has any questions of me.
Any questions for him? No, no question?
I don't have a question, just am a little concerned with the confidential document you sent us. I'm trying to figure out how we handle that. Not sure how we want to handle that.
Confidential document?
Confidential document that the chief forwarded to us.
Oh,
You know.
okay, good.
I'm not sure how I want to handle that.
Then we got finances, so in our packet is the monthly expenses to review, treasurer's report, sewer agent report. I guess D, this is Supervisor Steve's name behind that one.
Yeah, we looked at, we had problems with the toilets at the Township building. And, they're pretty old, but the ones at the park are old as well. But we had gotten a price on replacing them, it was a little over $1,000, as I recall. And, I didn't know it was an expense that we wanted to just go ahead and do, or whether we wanted to shop that a little bit.
Who was the quote from?
Ferretti?
It's right here.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's $1,600.
$1,660.84.
So, I mean, I have a plumber that I generally use, and I can call and see where they come out and give a quote. But, I just seemed a little expensive to me, but.
Is it imperative to do it right away?
No.
So we can get
No.
more quotes?
Yeah, we have time, but, like I said, I also, once we get these two quotes, we can see what it would do at the park as well.
We just wanna get more
Because
quotes.
we've had problems at the park recently.
Is it all right just to get more quotes? Is that? Yeah,
This isn't hurt, but
just wanna get more quotes.
Okay. Get more quotes.
Yeah.
Got it. Plumber.
They saw me in one packet.
It's not on here, but we did discuss it the other night in regards to the carpet replacement estimates. You guys want that on the agenda for Tuesday night?
Sure, we're gonna check Tuesday night.
What's that? Yeah, okay. We'll add that for Tuesday night.
So that's all that stuff for Tuesday, fire companies, because that'll be for Tuesday, since no fire representatives are here today. Then we got our August minutes, expenses reports, review of any directions or concerns for Tuesday. And planning and engineering, Ryan.
Good evening, board. I circulated my report. Couple items that I'll have prepared for you for your regular meeting. The first of which is we have worked through the payment application and subsequent change order for the maintenance contract. That draft change order and payment application are in my report. The payment application recommendation is for $163,287.13, and that includes a reduction from the contract price of $7,800 or so.
Don't we already pay that?
We paid the paving contract,
Oh, no.
but this is for the work on Rock Hollow and White Bear. So that's in the packet, please read through it. Additionally, I did meet with the road department and Sheila. We, utilizing the road list that we have and was recently updated by the crew, we selected several roads for estimates and as candidates for the 2024 street work. They are highlighted in my report. For paving, we looked at Proudfoot, Mounts, and Hopewell. For oil and chip work, Golf Course, Cacalico, Plow, and Oak Brook Court. I have estimates in my report for all of those roads. And based upon the estimates and looking at the budget, we were looking at potentially selecting Proudfoot Drive, Mounts Road, which is not the entire section of Mounts Road, just Mounts Road on the west side of the state road.
Yeah.
There is a little loop street on the other side.
Yeah.
That's in here as an estimate. We weren't going to pave that. We may look at oil and chipping that in the future.
Okay, so,
Ron, the last time that road was paved, because Mounts Road passes through New Morganboro also, we had approached New Morganboro and they split the difference with us to get the whole road paved at one time. I'm bringing that up now to the board. We may want to, as a courtesy at least,
Sure.
ask the borough if they would wish to do that again.
yeah, we plow it for them.
Yeah, if you'd like to, we can certainly do that. I know there is a section that's left out there. That is not included in this number, but obviously, you know,
Right,
they would find
right.
that.
When you have the machines in there working, it's gonna be cheaper.
Yep, yep.
You know, if they wanna do the whole thing or not, whether they wanna do it or not, that I can't say, that's not our decision.
Now, there's somebody's gonna call and say, why did you guys do the whole road?
Yeah, well, yeah, it will come back to us.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Yep, so again, for paving, Proudfoot, Mounts, and then for maintenance under our oil and chip contract, we were looking at essentially the full boat on Golf Course Road. I have that estimated at $245,000, and that would be our two contracts for next year. We would certainly work in their alternates, the other side of Mount, so it could be an alternate on contract one. And certain sections of golf course, we may consider breaking that up to buffer ourselves in case pricing would increase.
You're looking at on Chip on golf course.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it helps seal.
Yeah.
The pavement that was put down.
We'd like to do the whole thing, but we would bid it in sections as alternates. Okay?
And what about the other roads you got listed here?
So they're just estimated, those were the ones that were selected between ongoing correspondence with the crew and our office, so. Any thoughts that the board have, you know, again, we're just looking at budget items here now, so if you see something and you have questions, let me know and we'll review it and get back to you. Not looking for any action, just keep you apprised of where we're at.
How much long golf course is?
I have it figured in somewhere in my sheet, because I calculated the square yards, I can tell you.
The first portion of Golf Course Road, we've had a lot of problems with settling around the sewer line. Most of it's been around manholes. Before we would do any other work like that, do you know of anything that we should be doing to try to alleviate this?
My guess is it's poor compaction, so we could,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
we could look at it with the crew and, you know, again, all of these include, and the on-budgeted item here, just so you know, not that we don't have our eye on it, but there's base repair associated with each of these that the crew would do, as well as continued work out on Gunhart.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there's anything we should be doing to stop it from sinking and settling and causing a manhole, big bump around the manhole and.
We
That's
will,
fixed what, 2 or 3 of them up there, Ron?
What's that?
The manholes on the end of Golf Course Road where it keeps settling?
We just filled in to level it out, that was it. There was no milling or anything done.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it was 2 of them.
at least 2.
Well, 3 of them, 3 of them.
That's what I thought was 3, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure. It's, you know, I didn't know if there's some type of, anything we can come back to
Yeah,
make it better or not.
we can take a look at that.
Any other questions?
Do we ever fix the creek on golf course where it was washing up to the road?
Thank you for bringing that up. I was gonna ask the same thing.
Where the water's like all the way up to the road, just about washing the embankment out? And we were talking about that last year,
Yeah.
getting stone,
Yeah.
getting this, doing that.
It's in the
And
vicinity.
we're talking about tarring and chipping it, but if the road collapses, you won't be tarred and chipped.
Yeah, in the vicinity of Pigeon Place, I think is where you're.
We had looked
Yeah,
at,
there's one spot that's real close, I don't,
we had looked at grants for that and our ADT didn't meet the maximum ADT that a low volume road grant would provide.
Yeah, they were gonna help us with the permitting and stuff.
Right, they offered to do that and we can
And I
take it.
don't know if we ever got anywhere with that, or if they forgot it, or if the ball got dropped, or what happened.
Yeah, I can take a look at it. I think Tim and I had met with the conservation district on that.
Was there ever a walk down done after the detour was completed to see what kind of damage was done to the road during that detour?
I don't know that we walked it. I didn't hear anything from the crew.
I'm surprised the company that took the video didn't call to
Yeah.
go back through that yet, but.
Do we have a copy of that video?
Unfortunately, now, we do not.
Okay.
Before we move on, Mr. Road and Mr. Orlando, there's a section coming up with respect to this explosive magazine ordinance. Do you recall, either of you two gentlemen, how the comprehensive plan was consulted, if in fact it was? I have before us, gentlemen, a plan that I was the only supervisor that opposed. This is an original plan for 2003. I also have my testimony, Mr. Fee.
Can we talk about that when we get to that point?
Yeah, but I'm asking him if he remembers,
Well,
so.
let him finish his thing, because then we'll go.
Well, I thought you were done.
No, I just
Here's
want to write.
here's the
I
Rock
apologize, we didn't get to think about that.
Here's the Rock Isle Bridge.
I thought you were done.
So,
I'm
24,
sorry.
that's okay. 2024 street work, just an update. Let me know if you have questions. And I do intend, my final item would be for your regular meeting to have the proposals for the Rock Hollow Bridge project from potential engineering contractors for the bridge.
You have, you showed me that, or
They have proposals coming in duly to the township and our office.
Okay.
One of which I believe has been received so far, but it came in after I left my office.
So we should be able to make a decision on Tuesday as to who would award the bid.
Unless there's questions that come out of, you know, the review of them. But yes, I would certainly hope that we could select a potential consultant and
Yeah.
look to move forward.
We're probably looking at a year and a half, 2 years or something, we gotta bridge back in, so the faster we can get it bid and somebody working on it, the better off everybody is.
We're just losing time. Mr. Steve reminds me of that all the time. Yeah. That's all I have unless there's additional questions.
So now I'll ask the question.
And now we're going to legal solicitor Orlando, and there we go.
I'd still ask the engineer, what was done at the planning commission? How have we addressed the comprehensive plan?
I don't know that the comprehensive plan was discussed at the planning commission with respect to that draft. That draft was presented, as I recall, by the potential, I'll say developer, but
Yeah.
equitable owner in this situation, who's gonna be the lessee, and it has precipitated from there.
That's also my recollection.
Well, I'll, at this point, stand in opposition to that ordinance, so there's no.
Well, I think though, we're, Tuesday, we need to make a decision whether we're gonna go forward with that or not.
Well, you can't make a decision, Mr. Steve, without having, in my opinion, consulted all of the different plans that we did, which was my exact opposition in 2004, when I was the only supervisor who voted against it. I reiterated that opposition when we made a major change.
You
2
talking
years
about
ago.
the joint comprehensive plan?
Yes, we made a major.
I don't know that, I don't know that that's even, mentioned in there, the magazine.
Well, the concept of that, and you correct me, Mr. Orlando, if I'm wrong, but the concept of that joint comprehensive plan is that to the extent our participating members of that plan allow a use within their jurisdictions, the main selling point of that was that our people, our township can say, okay, yes, this is used as a permitted use right here. That's what I think the underlying, and I had concerns that are playing out.
I don't think though that they made a claim that it was exclusionary, did they? I mean,
Well, forget exclusionary,
Okay.
forget everything.
Well, that's what
Somebody
you brought
comes,
up.
if somebody comes in the township, they wanna put a use in here that's in prime agricultural land, and that use is likely permitted elsewhere, and we've gone down the road to just, I think, without a proper consideration. So until that consideration is done, I'm certainly requesting we put that project on hold.
Well, and actually, that's a way that the comp plan can help us, because, Union Township
Absolutely. they
already
do.
has, ample space. So, and, you know, I mean, I don't know that we have to do this, and as I said, we need to figure out whether we wanna go forward or not, because it's holding other things up.
Well, it doesn't have to hold the other things up, but I'm concerned that we're not consulting what we should be.
So since we're talking about that, do you have an update? Did you have an update since that's on your agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have circulated to all of the supervisors the 3 ordinances that I was asked to work on. The short-term rental ordinance amendment for the zoning, the explosive ordinance, which the supervisor sent to the planning commission, and I was asked to revise, and the regulatory ordinance, which I think was the last one that I had the opportunity to work on, I sent to you earlier at the end of September. My only comment about any of those ordinances that I was asked to review was if the board intends to go forward with the zoning amendments, that we do it in one ordinance, since it would save township money to amend the zoning ordinance. I don't have a position on whether or not you want to do the explosive ordinance or the short-term rental ordinance or not. So, I will say,
They're not, they're all emails, they're not.
what Tim described from joint comprehensive planning is consistent with the MPC. That does not prohibit you from having either complementary or even duplicate ordinances. Obviously, both townships have and can have shopping centers. You don't have to. As I believe you alluded to, Mr. Steve, I don't think the issue of exclusion was raised by the people that were here asking you to consider it. Certainly something you can consider and discuss. And I'm happy if you direct me to continue to do whatever else you want me to look at or not. I'm just waiting for you to tell me,
Yeah, so if, well,
does the
well,
board wish to go ahead with either or both?
So yeah, I guess since the ag, short-term rental ordinance, what's everybody's thought on?
It looks like it's ready.
The only thing with my question was, and I know, you know, was the whole,
The tents.
well, are we gonna not let people like, put a tent outside and lay in a sleeping bag? I mean, I just thought, you know, we were.
But do you think we covered that?
Yeah, we did, but I'm just saying, that was my thing, and then if they're doing a, fire too outside, I mean, that was the other thing, if they're doing, sitting outside with fire. I'm just saying, that's all.
I have no problem with that.
So, I mean, what's everybody's pleasure then with A, short-term rental, do you think what we have is?
I'm ready to go. Do we get the review back from the county?
There is no review from the county until you authorize a public hearing.
Okay.
Alright, and in order, if you choose to go forward and you wish to have it considered in November, the only date is your regular meeting date, because the workshop is too close. We don't have enough time for notification. But we do have enough time if the board wants to authorize a public hearing. We could consider adoption of that ordinance at your regular meeting in November.
So I'm a no on that for now,
On the short-term rental?
all of it.
So what were your concerns
Well,
with
I don't think
short-term
there's
rental?
a motion.
There is a motion,
Does
what's
it-
your,
Okay,
Does the board wish to entertain a motion authorizing the public hearing for the adoption of the short-term rental ordinance zoning amendment and short-term rental ordinance regulatory ordinance? Or either.
oh, do the short-term, do them separate, do the,
all right, I'll make a motion, we authorize the hearing for the short-term rental.
I'll second that one, roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yeah.
Mr. Bittler,
No.
not a yes.
And is the authorization for a public hearing on November 21st, which I think is your date? That should be included, or you should make a separate motion being explicit about the date, time,
November the
place, and
21st.
venue.
I'll just add that to my motion.
No, second your, so, roll call, Mr. Steve,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Bittler,
I'll vote no.
Okay,
and then you would want one for the explosive magazine ordinance, right?
Yeah, that one.
if you want to move
Well,
forward.
now I will say, since we'll talk about that separate, I'm not thrilled with that concept in Robeson Township.
I'm not either.
So do we just,
No motion.
alright, who's that?
I'm not sure we don't have it already. Does anybody have any idea what Haynes and Kibble House does with their blasting down there? I know that Dyer's brings a service in to blast now,
Yeah, I'm almost sure HK does the same thing, but
but Haynes and Kibble House is such a big construction company, they're doing blasting all the time.
yeah, I think they're like these guys though. I think that they have a group that goes out and does the blasting. I don't know.
It might
I don't know
be,
where they work out of.
might be a Haynes and Kibble House company, there's so many subdivisions and different companies that compose the Haynes and Kibble House group that
So are they blasting in Union or are they blasting in Robeson?
I don't know, well, they're blasting in both. you know, but that's not the point. The point is if they have a magazine there and they're storing dynamite or whatever explosive they're using at the time, their business. You know, if they're gonna have it stored there on their property, I wouldn't see that they wouldn't entertain having somebody piggyback on the site. So that we really wouldn't have a conflict in any way.
But right now, for that location in Robeson, right now, we say none of us are really interested in that.
I agree with that, I'm not interested either.
So, which means then, no motion.
No motion.
Alright, but I need some clarity on your motion on the short-term rental, because there are two ordinances for short-term rental. There's a zoning amendment, and there's a regulatory ordinance which adopts a different party. Is your motion to consider both at the same
Yes.
time?
Yes.
Okay, alright,
And then
So
the
then-
posted magazine is
so we're not moving forward with the proposed explosive magazine ordinance?
No.
Alright, so I was asked by the board to review the, status of what the township would be able to do with American Rescue Plan funds. And, I reviewed the last report that was forwarded to me that the township had submitted back in March. And the wording of that, report is consistent with what I have learned is the final amendment. There's been repeated tweaks and changes in the regulations on the use of this American Rescue Plan funds. And if you use the right language in the last report, I think the cutoff was in March of this year, that it could then be used for general revenue replacement. We have language that appears to do that. So I do not believe that there are other categories where you have to meet certain thresholds, which I think was why the question was asked.
correct.
And it appears to me that based on the last report that was filed, we indicated that it would be used for general revenue purposes, and that is allowed under the last regulation. So I don't think there is any particular metric that has to be followed, other than that. You know, some of those other ones required certain, reporting and, meeting certain thresholds. This language was intended to generally open up, and I believe whoever filed that most recent report for the township, complied with that.
Okay.
So I don't think we have an issue of concern in terms of restrictions on use.
Good, so we could use it for the sewer? or we could
General
use it for
revenue
truck-
enhancement,
Truck, okay.
or
So we could
replacement, I
have-
should say. Yes. And, that's all that's printed, but I do have one other issue. As a result of the passage of time, we are now in a position where other people on the, who are customers of our municipal services are now over the $500 threshold for us to proceed with pursuing liens. Our notice letter, directs them to, contact the township manager, Richard Orwig, which of course we can't do at this point. So I'm looking for some direction as to how to modify. It's time for us to send out letters. I wanna know to whom we should direct the, people with regard to their response in case they wanna pay us.
And this item's not on the agenda, correct?
As may arise.
It's as by your eyes.
So that's a no, we're not on the agenda, it's just a rising. We sent a letter to Mr. Hartman's office asking for a list, asking for something. I've never seen a response from him. I couldn't-
He has not responded to that letter.
Pardon me?
He has not responded to that letter.
So
I have followed up an email.
Now, the board would have got a copy of that email or no?
I don't recall whether you were copied or not.
Okay, well, again, I request, you know, a copy of whatever our engineer and whatever our attorney's sending out. I find it a problem when people don't respond to us long time, and the bigger problem is that we don't have our own house in order. This is not rocket scientists. I suggest that they contact the chairman of the board, just send a letter to him, you know, and they will respond as a board then. This
So
is,
now we can probably answer this after executive session.
yeah,
So we would,
yeah, we can.
we'll discuss something in executive session that might clarify that.
Excellent. Thank you.
We'll wait,
So unless the board has any other questions, that's my report.
we'll discuss it. All right, thank you. And we have Public Works, I guess we have a new road crew. Anything else for Public Works?
Yeah, with respect to the new road crew, we made a motion, I'm looking at page 3, to hire a Ryan Kelly. And we now have hired Vincent Spade. And I understand that there is certainly a difference of opinion as to what occurred in executive session. So, if that's a motion, it seems like we've already hired the fellow, is that not correct?
We just gotta
So-
reaffirm the hire?
So how do we do that? How do we hire somebody that we didn't, in my opinion, really discuss? We've had applications since then. From what I understand, the allegation is, Mr. Steve, in executive session, there was some ranking and priority. If that was the case, then the motion would say, which I approved of hiring this fellow, would say, in the event someone didn't accept, we go down the line. I think there was other discussions that need to occur, and I think that's the exact problem in this township.
Well, whether you recall or not, everyone was sent a email or text, asking them whether they approved the.
Okay, so again, this is what in all due respect, this is what I object to in this township. We don't make decisions on emails out of the public light, we don't make them in executive session. People miss emails. This is, again, someone thinks it's an emergency and it's not. Someone wants to short circuit the system, and sooner or later, the township will pay the price. That's all I got to say.
Well, it was discussed, and even if we were gonna hire the guy, it wouldn't have been discussed in the public meeting, it would have been discussed in the executive, and then brought to a vote. So I fail to see what the difference is.
Big difference, and that's the problem. You don't see the difference. I don't think you wanna see the difference. There were applications since then, this was a fluid, unfolding situation with multiple hires that we're gonna talk about. So a little restraint, a little patience, and we get a better product. That's all I'm asking for. And we follow the law.
And anything for Parks and Rec there, or anything? Anything for Parks and Rec?
No.
You wanna go to executive session now?
Yeah.
Alright, we will go into executive session at 53. Oh, yeah, I think so. That's why I
So
said.
folks, there's many times we just adjourn when we come back from the executive session. That may not be the case here. If you're interested in staying on YouTube or staying here.
I got a question.
That's just a heads
Are
up.
we gonna get copies of these ordinances that you guys are considering?
They should be
Yes,
posted on the
It'll be
website.
posted.
It'll be posted.
Yeah, for the public hearing.
Okay.
Anyone interested in
You got
particular?
anything?
I don't want any dynamite in the township. I don't want any
Good,
dynamite.
especially if we had just stored it
On somebody's
You're
field.
my response.
I know.
I'm only one of
Do you
five.
think you need me to hang around?
Like the board.
One of five.
My understanding is that
Thank you. Good luck, hopefully you're not here long.
These guys are.
It was on the
Might be
website,
their own
Tom.
division, but they're bringing it in from like others.
We're gonna have a hearing, we're gonna have a hearing on these ordinances.
It'll definitely be put if it's
We should
not
have plenty of
posted.
copies.
What's that?
We should have plenty of copies for people.
That wasn't one of them. Okay.
More people will copy.
We don't want it, I don't want any dynamite running around.
That's not one of them. They didn't even vote for that. They're not doing it. It's for the short-term rental.
Yeah, well,
Right, you don't have to.
I wanna know what they're doing in the short term.
Then they moved it, I guess.
I know I was looking
Okay.
at this place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was thinking by the time I get home, it's like the fifth
Yo.
inning, and you know, we didn't have to.
Yes, I did. Thank you, Tom. I got it when I got back
Now,
that
so
day.
now you're gonna get home, and I'm gonna be like, it's gonna
Thank
be
you.
the third inning, and then, you know, maybe they're winning 1-0, they're losing 2-1, and then you're like, shit.
I was hoping I
What
would
I
get a text
changed
message,
is I
but
put
already
it out on
got
the counter and the kids go through it fast. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm leaving, you need it?
No, I'm good. That
I
was
will-
painful.
I will have those payment applications and change orders to be signed Tuesday.
Okay, and, well, am I supposed to just cut the check right away, or, cause I won't, that won't be cut to November, or get me the stuff before Tuesday, oh, you can't.
Well, it's in the packet now. So what's in my end is payment application and change orders.
Well, please, I realize that traffic on 724 is gonna get progressively worse when that warehouse opens.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Nobody's gonna be able to get out of Flying Hills.
I'm gonna use the bathroom, guys. Have a good night.
I will talk to you guys
I'm
about
gonna
it.
use the bathroom.
It'll have to be next year, because we have to put them on our contract. Yeah, yeah, I know you brought that up before, and we'll take a look at it.
Bev was faster. I went to use the bathroom, I'm not used to there being many women here, so I just like leaned against the door and I was like bounced off. Oh. Are you guys gonna stay? I'm leaving. I'm going home. I asked Chris if I could go, he said yes. I just wanna call him. Like I said, I'm gonna work for 9 hours a day. And then you come here and he says all kinds of crazy stuff. See, I just reminded you in the night.
Yeah.
What was it? What did he say? Did he say? Listen, just listen, Beth. Listen, I have to listen too.
You know, they should have a microphone for them. I can't hear, I'm hearing it.
I didn't know that. I assume, I'm not far behind this.
There was, there's been some issues over the few years with girlfriends and wives and, you know, some of that really screwed them up. No, she's probably watching on YouTube.
Alright, I guess we're back in session at 8:31. Now, first, hope we're gonna make a motion to amend the
I'll
agenda.
make a motion to amend the agenda to insert the hiring of an assistant manager.
Alright, do we have a second to? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, so any comments from the public about an assistant manager position? before we-
I'll make a motion then that we hire Richard Howitt, salary of $75,000 as assistant manager,
Effective.
effective immediately.
Mean tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatsoever immediately.
Second. If you don't.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, if you're looking for a motion to adjourn, I'll make that motion as well.
Alright, so 8:32. I'll second it, all in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, have a good evening.
Oh, wait, Gene,
And you're turning out there faster than you flash, right?
Very good. I guess, I could just say, no issue, and send those right to them.